Today, we're diving into some pretty explosive claims from Gavin de Becker, a guy who provides security for some of the most powerful people in the world. He says he knows why the full story about Jeffrey Epstein is being held back, and his theory, well, it pulls back the curtain on a hidden world of power and deception. Let's get into it.
And this right here, this is the quote that really kicks things off. De Becker isn't just floating a theory. He's flat out saying he has inside information. He's telling us there's a game being played that most of us don't even know exists, and he's about to lay out the rules.
All right, so here's how we're going to break this down. First, we'll cover who de Becker is and why we should listen. Then we'll get into a wild, real-world example of high-tech blackmail. After that, we unpack his bombshell theory on Epstein, figure out who he thinks was behind it, and finally, what all of this means for the rest of us.
Okay, so first things first. Who exactly is Gavin de Becker, and why should his perspective on all of this carry so much weight? Before we dive into what he's claiming, you've got to understand where he's coming from.
Look, his firm isn't your average security company. They operate at the absolute highest level, protecting a client list that includes people like Jeff Bezos and major government figures. His entire life's work is built around understanding and stopping the most sophisticated threats on the planet.
So, to really get what de Becker is warning us about, we need to look at a case he personally investigated. The whole Jeff Bezos situation is a perfect and frankly terrifying example of how power and deception work in the modern world.
In his investigation, de Becker found that Jeff Bezos' phone was hacked by the Saudi government using something called a no-click exploit. This is straight-up scary stuff. You don't have to click a suspicious link, you don't have to download anything, they just send a file to your phone, and that's it. Game over. You're compromised.
And get this, the level of control is absolute. From thousands of miles away, someone can turn on your phone's camera, activate its microphone. It basically becomes a 24/7 spy device right in your own pocket. They can see what you see and hear what you hear.
So why? Why go after Bezos? De Becker connects it all to his ownership of the Washington Post, which had been critical of Saudi Arabia. The National Enquirer then tried to blackmail him. But here's the twist. They didn't want money. They wanted him to publicly state two things: that the story wasn't politically motivated and that there was no hacking involved. In other words, they wanted him to help them cover their tracks.
And this is where it gets really chilling for all of us. De Becker's warning is crystal clear. If a government, a real state actor, wants to get inside your phone, they will. For them, your digital privacy is basically a myth.
Okay, so that's the tech side of things, where a simple file can be weaponized. But de Becker argues this is just one tool in a much bigger, more sinister game. And that brings us to Jeffrey Epstein, an operation he says wasn't just about committing crimes, but about literally building a fake reality for one purpose: control. This is the absolute core of his entire argument. The whole Epstein persona, the billions, the private island, the access to everyone who is anyone. He says it wasn't real. It was all a carefully constructed stage, a giant fabrication designed to do a very specific job. De Becker tells this story about a friend of his to show exactly how the trap was set. See, if his friend had said yes, he would have been led to a room that was wired from top to bottom with hidden cameras and microphones. Everything would be recorded, creating blackmail material that could be used to control that person forever.
And this is where things take a massive turn. If the whole Epstein enterprise was a construct, then who built it? And what was the ultimate goal? According to de Becker, Epstein wasn't some financial genius who made his own money. A staggering amount, we're talking $500 million, was apparently transferred to him from Les Wexner. De Becker alleges this wasn't an investment. It was the seed money to build the entire blackmail machine.
Now, de Becker is quick to say there's no single document that proves everything. Instead, he points to what he calls connective tissue. You've got that insane sweetheart plea deal, you've got a prosecutor literally on record saying he was told Epstein belonged to intelligence, and then you have the Maxwell family's deep, well-documented ties to intelligence agencies. When you line it all up, a picture starts to form.
So after laying out all this public evidence, plus his own inside knowledge, de Becker just comes right out and says it. He believes the entire sprawling Epstein operation was designed from the ground up to collect blackmail on powerful people, specifically for the benefit of a foreign intelligence service, Israel.
Okay, so foreign intelligence, blackmail, billionaires, it's a lot. What does any of this have to do with you and me? Well, de Becker argues that understanding this pattern of deception at the highest levels is actually vital for navigating our own lives.
He points to this long history of powerful institutions hiding the truth,
It's not the exception, he says, it's often the rule. Think about it. Corporations, governments, they've buried the truth for decades, over and over, while people get hurt. This isn't a new phenomenon.
And here's the real takeaway. We might not ever get the full truth, but the first, most powerful thing we can do is just recognize when we're being lied to. Simply acknowledging the deception, saying, hey, something's not right here, that's where our power really begins.
So that leaves us with the ultimate question, doesn't it? If institutions can create entire fake realities, if we can't always trust what we're being told, how in the world are we supposed to protect ourselves?
And this is Dave Becker's final answer, and it's actually pretty empowering. He says our best defense isn't some secret knowledge or high-tech tool. It's the one thing we were all born with, that gut feeling, that little voice in your head that says something is off, your intuition. That, he says, is our ultimate guide for telling what's real.